Hello students and welcome to the lecture. So students, as we know that we are covering the schedule and tribal areas. Okay, this is the topic on which we have been discussing. Okay, the schedule and the tribal areas. This is the topic on which we have been discussing. And basically, if we talk about this topic of schedule and tribals, then basically these are the topics that we have scheduled for the discussion under this particular series. Like starting with the introduction part, thereafter the schedule areas in India and overview of it, thereafter the criteria for identification of schedule areas, okay, thereafter the constitutional provisions and the governance, thereafter the concerns related to the schedule areas, thereafter the administration of schedule areas, thereafter the scheduled tribes, thereafter the general concerns of the tribal community, thereafter the addressing the challenges, thereafter the significance of the indigenous communities, thereafter the problems faced by the tribal groups, thereafter the conclusion, and then the administration of the tribal areas. Okay, so these all are the topics that we have scheduled for the discussion. If we talk about the topics that we have covered so far, so basically we have done with the introduction part. Okay, and the topic we have been discussing right now, this is the schedule areas in India and overview. Okay, the topics that we are left with, these are criteria for identification of schedule areas, constitutional provisions and governance, concerns related to the schedule areas, administration of schedule areas, the scheduled tribes, okay, thereafter the general concerns of the tribal community, then addressing the challenges, then significance of the indigenous communities, the problems faced by the tribal groups, the conclusion, and the administration of tribal areas. Okay, so this is the picture that we have created so far altogether. All right, so basically before starting this lecture, I will ask you the several questions. All right, so if you look at it, that is the schedule areas in India and overview. That is what we are discussing right now. Okay, within this topic, basically there are some special provisions and the autonomy that we give to the schedule areas, right? As we know, the schedule areas are those areas which have been covered under the 5th and 6th schedule of the Indian Constitution. Okay, then we call them as a schedule areas. So the question that I'm going to ask you is that if we talk about the total land cover, if we talk about the total land cover that covers under the scheduled areas, then what is the percentage of it? That is already we have discussed. Okay, so what is the percentage of it? You are required to tell me the answer. To answer this question, I will give you the 30 seconds, and your time starts now. Okay, the 10 seconds have been passed off. Last 20s are remaining. Okay, last 10 seconds. All right, the time's up. So the correct answer is 11.3%. So the total land cover that has been granted to the scheduled areas in respect of the total land area of the country, that is 11.3%. Got it? Now the second question I'm going to ask you is that if we talk about the percentage of tribal population in respect of the total population of India, then what is the percentage? Again, I'm repeating the question. If we talk about the population percentage of tribal people in respect of the population percentage of this country, then what is the answer? To answer this question, again, 30 seconds, time starts now. 10 seconds have been passed off, last notice are remaining. Okay, last 10 seconds. Okay, the time's up. So the correct answer is 8.6%. Okay. So the total population of the tribals in respect of the total population of this country is 8.6%. Okay. So these two are the important figures. Please remember this and please keep them in your mind. Okay. That is important from the examination point of view, because sometimes the statement based questions comes in the examination that they will give you several statements, and whenever this kind of question comes, always the percentage like 11.3 land cover and 8.6 the total population, these percentage will be given but wrongly given, and the question will be like identify the statement which is true. So if you are not aware about these percentages, you will count the statement as true, but the statement will be false. Okay. All right. Now come back to the topic. So the next is the ADC, Autonomous District Councils. Okay. ADCs, the Autonomous District Councils. If we talk about them, then these are the areas under the sixth schedule that have the ADCs or the Autonomous District Councils with legislative and executive powers to govern these regions. Alright, so basically we can say under 6th schedule there are 4 northeastern states, right? So the district of these 4 northeastern states, if they having the major or significant tribal population, then they will have the provision of ADC, the Autonomous District Councils. The autonomous word here signifies a thing. The autonomous word here signifies a thing like district councils and autonomous. Okay, district councils generally having the legislative and executive powers, but they are required to work in accordance with the state government. Okay, and the state government is responsible for the entire state, not only for some specific communities. All right, so that's why in order to give the special attention to those districts that having the major or the significant tribal populations, okay, the provision of ADC came into the picture. The provision of ADC came into the picture, that is the Autonomous District Councils. So if we will match them correctly or totally, then the ADCs and the Autonomous District Councils are basically the tribal district councils which having the autonomous power. It means that by their own they could make the laws and regulations through the legislative powers, and because they also having their own autonomous executive powers, so they could even implement the provisions. So not only responsible for making the provision, but also empowered to implement the provisions by using their legislative and executive powers in governing of these regions. Okay. After this, the TACs. Okay, TAC stands for the Tribal Advisory Councils. Okay, so the states that are under the 5th schedule, like we know. Okay, this is the question I'm going to ask you this time. Okay, total how many states are covered under the fifth schedule. Total how many states covers under the fifth schedule? That is the question I'm going to ask you. Okay, and now all of you are required to give me the answer. So to answer this question, again I will give you the 30 seconds and your time starts now. 10 seconds have been passed, last 20s are remaining. Last 10 seconds. Alright, the time's up. So basically there are total 10 states that covers under the fifth schedule. So all those 10 states that are under the fifth schedule, those states basically having the TACs, the Tribal Advisory Councils, to advise on matters related to the welfare and advancement of scheduled tribes in these areas. Okay, so we can say that the sixth schedule basically provides for the autonomous district councils, while the fifth schedule provides for the TACs, Tribal Advisory Councils. All right, that is a thing. So if we will compare both of them, then we will see the sixth schedule, which is providing the ADCs, basically providing the more powers in comparison with the fifth schedule. How? Because if you look at the fifth schedule states total 10 states are there. Okay, that is having the you can see the tribal population. Okay, and it is providing for the TACs, the Tribal Advisory Councils. So these councils, even it's a name containing the word advisory, it means that only advises on the matters that are related to the welfare and the advancement of STs in these areas. Okay, and basically it is advisable, so it is totally depend on the state government, and you can say totally in the hand of the state government whether they are moving forward to implement these advices or not, or up to which extent they you can say implement the advice, or which extent they neglected it. Okay, but if you look at this one, at sixth schedule, what you are getting, you will get the sixth schedule is basically providing for the autonomous district councils. Okay, it means the entire district council and with autonomous nature. It means no need to ask the central government or the state government for the administration. Okay, for the administration, even the basic administration powers like the executive and legislative have been granted to them. Okay, so more freely autonomous district councils could work. Okay, or independently they could work. But the fifth states, the areas under the fifth schedule, these are totally dependent on the tribal advisory councils that are giving advices to the state government on the matters that are related to the welfare and the advancements. Okay, and as I have told you, that is totally depend on the state government whether they would like to implement the ideas or not, or up to which extent they will implement the idea, or up to which extent they will neglect it. Got it? That's a simple logic and simple thing. Now let's move forward. Here is a one thing that we can see is the proposed expansion in Kerala. So Kerala proposal was come in the year of 2015. Okay, and basically the Kerala proposed to notify the 21 and 33 habitations. Total 2133 habitations. All right, 5 gram panchayats and 2 wards. Total you can say total 2133 habitations. Okay, it means residential areas 5 gram panchayats and 2 wards in in 5 districts as the scheduled areas. Okay, so you can say basically the Kerala government identified that they have the 5 districts in which 2,133 habitations, 5 gram panchayat and 2 wards were having the significant population of the scheduled tribes. Okay, and to make some special provisions for them and to look after them effectively, basically they purposed to notify them as the scheduled areas. Okay, so that was their proposal, that was their offer, you can say. Thereafter, awaiting approval. The proposal awaits the union or the central government's approval, which is required for the formal notification of these as the scheduled areas. So here you can say that we have find out one thing. And what is that thing? That basically if the state government, like Kerala is the state, okay? Kerala is the state. So if the Kerala government want to notify several areas like this habitations, 5 panchayats and 2 wards as a scheduled areas, then whose permissions they required? Basically they required the approval of union government. Okay, until or unless the union government provides the approval, the state government is not able to notify the area as a scheduled area. Okay, so a state government approval is required. That is what we have found here. All right, now if we talk about the impact, like what would be the impact of that provision on the areas, so we can say if that approved, if that approved, so this expansion would provide these areas with the special provisions, okay, and autonomy. Why special provisions and autonomy? Why? Because if these areas would be notified or certified under the official notification of the government or gazetted notification, you can say, then these areas will become critical from the point of view of schedule and tribal areas. Okay, in such a scenario, these areas could not work effectively under the normal administration purposes. Under the normal administration purposes. All right. So that's why some special provisions would be required for it. Second one is the autonomy. Autonomy means the tribal population that is living out there that must have the right to make their own rules and regulations and also execute them properly. Then only they would be able to utilize the special provisions that have been granted to them, even that would be able for maintaining their cultural identity. Okay, so the special provisions and autonomy under the 5th schedule would be granted to them, and that will be aimed at promoting the welfare and development of ST communities in Kerala. Promoting the welfare and development of ST communities in Kerala. Okay, so that was the proposed expansion in Kerala that came in 2015. Got it? So after finishing the scheduled areas overview, now we are going to talk about the criteria. Criteria for the identification of scheduled areas. Okay, like what is the area? How we can say that particular area is the scheduled areas and tribal areas, and how we could grant them the powers, autonomy, and all. So there must be some basis. Okay, you can say that there must be some provisions, there must be some things on the basis of which we could decide it. All right, so now we are going to talk about those bases. First base is significant tribal population. First base is significant tribal population. Okay, it means that any area that is to be certified under the schedule area and the tribal area. That area is must having the significant tribal population, then only the demand for the special administration could be accepted. Until or unless the area is not having a significant tribal population, the demand would not be accepted for this purpose. So the primary criterion, if we talk about it, what is the primary criterion for it? Okay, so this primary criterion for declaring an area as a schedule area is the presence of a significant populations of scheduled tribes or STs. Okay, significant population. And please remember that why I'm emphasizing more on this, because if you will look at it, so mostly times I have found students basically saying that if the area is having the population of the tribals, then the area would be a scheduled area. No. Why? Because as I have told you, when we talk about the administration of country, then we are not talking about from the one point of view. If the area is having the tribal population, then we must apply the tribal rules and regulations there, and that would be okay. No. Why? Because not only the tribals are living there, non-tribals are also living here. All right. And the society of that area is the mixed society. Okay. So if we will make each and everything for the tribals, then what will happen to the non-tribals? They would start revolting against it. Okay. So to balance these approaches, to balance all the things, basically instead of having the population, what we categorize the most is the significant population. So it is not required that the area is just having the population, but a significant population. It means that tribals must be in majority or must be in a numbers that are significant. Okay. Then for their welfare and for the other development processes, the government could work. Second is the percentage requirement. So remember, the Bhuria Commission recommended the considering areas with 40% or more tribal population according to the 1951 census as scheduled areas. Okay. So at first in the primary criterion, we have seen that basically in order to declare any area as a scheduled area, okay, there must be a significant population, that what we have seen. So when we will say that this is the significant population or not, is there any common you can say criteria, or this is totally depend upon the discretion powers of the relevant authority? So if we will go by both of them, so the first one is that if this is totally depend on the discretion of the relevant authority, then what will happen? Then what will happen? Then basically the authorities that are deciding any area as a scheduled area might be, if the population is only about 10%, they will grant the status of scheduled area. Might be the population is more than 80%, but still they are not satisfied. They are not giving the criteria of the scheduled areas. Okay. So what it will do, it will stands out the differences. And whenever there would be differences, automatically there would be a clashes. Okay. And that is what we avoid. All right. So instead of this, instead of leaving this, you can say decision to declare any area as a tribal area or not on the discretion of the relevant authority, instead of this, basically we provide for the common criteria. Like if any area is having that much of tribal population, automatically the area would be declared as an scheduled area. Okay, would be declared as an scheduled area. That is what we have you can say recommended. Okay, so for this, to decide it the particular population, the Bhuria Commission, okay, considered that if any area is there that is having the 40% or more tribal population, then the area would be declared as a tribal area. For example, if the area is having the 100 people, or you can say 100 crore people, or 10 million people basically, okay, out of these 100 crore people, only the 10 crores are the tribals, then this area would not be declared as a scheduled area. Why? Because it is not signify the minimum criteria limit. Similarly, if we reverse the case, if the area is having the 100 crore population, out of 100 crores, the 50 crores population, or not 50 crore, 48 crore population is tribal, while the rest 52 crore population is non-tribal. So is this area still not be declared as a significant area because it is not securing the majority? The trial population is still under the majority or below the majority, then should we declare it? In such a case, the area would be declared as an schedule area. Why? Because as per the criteria, at least 40% should be the population. And if we go by the statement, so 48 crores were there. So 48 of 100 crores is basically 48%. So that area will be declared as a schedule area. And that would be happen according to the 1951 census as schedule areas. Okay. So students, basically in this lecture we have finished till here. In the next lecture we will continue from here. Till then, just revise the facts and figures that all we have discussed in this lecture. Be ready for the another lecture. With this note, let's end this lecture, and what we say in the end, we say thank you.